This is my review of the Beach Boys album Wild Honey. It was released in 1967, produced by the Beach Boys. So this album I have on the 2 for a Smiley Smile, and I think that's why I like this. This was an album I didn't listen to a lot for a long time, and I think it's because I kind of just I didn't like the album that came before it, and this is kind of a different sounding album for this band. That's more of a, like, some people call it like kind of their soul album. It kind of continues and like kind of fall out of like the Smile stuff of the band, kind of go in for like a simpler sound, kind of like more of like back to the basics approach. And I don't know, for some reason the first couple times I listened to it, a lot of the tracks didn't really stand out to me. I think it's because they're kind of short, but as I've gone on, and especially recently, this has probably been one of their albums I've listened to the most recently. So my opinion of it's definitely gone up as time's gone on. Now it's I think it's probably one of their best albums in a way. Song on the album, the title track Wild Honey, a song written by Brian and Mike, which pretty much like all but 2 songs on this album are written by Brian and Mike, so I'm just going to mention the ones that aren't going forward. Pretty good song, or it's a song that I knew from the Greatest Hits album before getting this. I think it's a really good album opener, got a great vocal from Carl. Really like energetic track to start off the album. I think one of the better songs on it, even though I think pretty much all the songs on here are really good. The second song, Aren't You Glad? One of my, maybe my favorite song on the album. It's got this like cool piano on it that's like, I don't know, there's a couple songs on the album that just have this piano that sounds like, it just sounds really cool to me. It sounds like this piano that you'd find in like, I don't know, some like old building or in like the basement of a church or something. But just like really cool sounding, and it's really prominent on the song. Which is probably why it's like my favorite song on the album. But it's also got a really good vocal from Brian and Mike. Just a really cool song. The third song, I Was Made to Love Her, is a cover on the album, which I think it's a Stevie Wonder song. I'm not familiar with the original. I probably should be, because I like this one, and I think it's got a good Carl vocal, so it's definitely a good addition to the album. The fourth song, Country Air, I think just a really cool, like, kind of chill song that sort of like points the way that they're going to go a little bit on the next album, Friends, which is another like really chill album. The fifth song, A Thing or Two, this one is like one of those songs I always forget what the song sounds like, because the title, like this, they do say the title in the song, but it's kind of like really quiet, and I always think that the song should be called like Do It Right Baby or something like that, because that's a more prominent line in the song that they sing. But it's a pretty good song. I just always forget about it because the title. The sixth song, Darlin', another really great song that was on the Greatest Hits album, so I was familiar with it before this album. It's got another great Carl lead vocal. The seventh song, I'd Love Just Wants to See You. This song starts out as like kind of this nice, like pretty song with a good vocal from Brian, and in the end just turns out to be about Brian wanting to see you naked, or whoever the song's about naked. So it's kind of just funny ending, but a really good song. But just, you know, complete Brian Wilson song. Like only Brian Wilson would come up with something like that, I feel like. The eighth song, Here Comes the Night, song that kind of I didn't really get it the first time I listened to it, and then I heard the horrible disco thing that they did on LA album later, which I'm going to defend a lot of that album, but not that. I don't think, at least. Maybe it's been a while since I've listened to it, but it's like 10 minutes and it's way too long. But this version, actually, now that I really appreciate, I think it's one of the better songs on the album. just a really cool song. Another one that's got that cool piano sound. Also got just really good vocals. It's a great song. The ninth song, Let the Wind Blow. Another one that's got that piano again. And another one that I kind of didn't notice the first couple times I listened to, but now I'm just really into it. I think it's a really cool song. Just kind of a chill song too. The 10th song, How She Boogalooed It, which is written by Mike Bryan, at least I think Bryan, it just said the last name, so I guess it could be Carl Dennis. And then Bruce and Al. And this one's kind of a more like one of the more like upbeat like rocker songs on the album, along with Wild Honey and Darlin'. And it's pretty good. Kind of maybe not as memorable as some of the ones that have come before it. And then the album ends with Mama Says, which is kind of like a piece from Smile. I think pretty sure on the Smile sessions it's part of the Vegetables song. So it's kind of like a fragment of a Smile song put at the end. It's kind of silly, but it's an okay way to end the album. I do think Wild Honey, though, as a whole, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5, which kind of didn't think I would do going into this album, but I think this album flows really well. It doesn't have a bad song on it. I mean, the worst thing I can say about any of these songs is that like they're kind of short. It's a pretty short album, but I don't know. I enjoy it so much that I don't really hold that against it. I mean, I think a good short album is just as good as a good long album. But yeah, just I think a really good album from I think a really kind of underrated time in the Beach Boys' career. I think that for me personally, from like Pet Sounds, like this period in the band's history, from like Pet Sounds through to like LA, they're probably like my favorite part of the band's stuff, even as good as with like how good a lot of the early stuff was. But I think like at this point they're making more consistent albums really than the early albums, which had some filler and stuff. So